Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. Mary Beth? Do you want to do the roll call? It's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Councilwoman Chapman. Here. Councilman Cookingham.
Here.
Councilman Deegan.
Here.
Councilman Reifenberg.
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht.
Here.
Town Attorney Warren Wilpansky.
Here.
All present.
Okay, I have a couple of comments to make for tonight before we get started. Going forward, personnel matters will not be addressed or discussed in public forums, as these topics are not appropriate for open discussion. The other thing is that as we truly appreciate everybody wanting to give us feedback, you really need to speak to the town board as a whole, whether positive or negative, so you can write to us. We have emails on the website. You can find us, or you can write to the town clerk. And then another reminder is on June 25th at 5 p.m. at Helen Aldrich Park, there will be a road sign dedication to Butch Gardner, and all are welcome. I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And there are no public hearings tonight. I'd like a motion to accept the minutes of regular town board meeting and public hearings from 5/19/25, workshop meeting 6/2/25, and special town board meeting 6/9/25.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All official correspondence is on file in the town clerk's office. We have a very nice presentation tonight. If Mary Beth would like to come up, and it's Making a Difference Award, which is being presented to the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Tonight, we're here to honor the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry with the Citizens Making a Difference Award. So the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry began in 1983 as a single shelf at the Methodist Church. Over time, the four local churches united around a shared mission to support community members facing challenges and food insecurity. For over 30 years, the pantry has been providing vital assistance to individuals and families in need, now serving more than 3,000 people annually. The pantry relies heavily on community support through food drives and donation requests sent to local businesses. It is supported by numerous organizations, including the Rotary Club, Lions Club, firehouses, and others. Community drop boxes for non-perishable items located at firehouses play a crucial role in sustaining the pantry's efforts. Each month, the pantry helps families within the Arlington Central School District by providing up to 5 days' worth of food. Fresh produce is generously donated by local farms, home gardeners, and the Pleasant Valley Community Garden. Financial contributions are welcome through GoFundMe pages. The pantry maintains an active presence on social media and its website to keep the community informed and engaged. Each year, during the Festival of Lights, volunteers participate in the parade by decorating shopping carts with festive Christmas decorations and walking along the sidewalk to collect non-perishable food items for the food pantry. Even in the cold winter months, donations continue to be gathered with the same spirit of generosity. When I reflect on the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry, what immediately comes to mind is a profound sense of community and family. It is a community composed of individuals who have intentionally come together to create a family unit, one grounded in shared values, common purpose, and mutual support. To me, the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry embodies more than just a provision of resources. It stands as a testament of the strength, unity, and compassion that emerge when people come together as one. I remember growing up in a large Italian family, gathered around the dinner table with my siblings. For our parents, the dinner table wasn't just for meals. It was where we connected, shared stories, laughed, and learned life's important lessons. When dinner was served, we were told to finish everything on our plates. There are children in America who are starving, my parents would remind us. They were on a tight budget, and the simple rule was, you ate what you were given, or you did not eat at all. At the time, I didn't fully understand the value of those words, but as I grew older, started a family of my own, my husband and I raised our daughters, and it started to make sense. There were times when construction work was slow, and we had to make tough choices and cut back. Those experiences taught us the true value of a good meal and the importance of appreciating what you have, especially when others have far less. Sometimes families need a little help, a little hope, and somebody who believes in them. Where there is hope, there is faith, and where there is faith, miracles happen. Our Pleasant Valley Food Pantry strives to be that source of hope. It's comforting to know there's a place in our community where you can turn, where you are welcomed with compassion, and where you are never forgotten. To the dedicated volunteers who have served the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry week after week, year after year, your commitment does not go unnoticed. In a world where there are few willing to go the extra mile, your choice to do so sets you apart. When you go beyond what is expected and give it your all, you embody the true spirit of service. Real impact comes not only from effort, but from the wholehearted commitment you consistently demonstrate. For that, the town of Pleasant Valley is deeply grateful. Always remember, never underestimate the value of volunteers. After all, Noah's Ark was built by volunteers, while the Titanic was built by professionals. Please join me in giving a standing ovation to the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry and their incredible volunteers, proud recipients of the Pleasant Valley Citizens Making a Difference Award. Supervisor Albrecht will now read a proclamation.
In honor of the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry, whereas the town of Pleasant Valley is here today to recognize an outstanding food pantry and their dedicated volunteers who have given many hours of commitment to their community, and whereas the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry is an integral part of the town of Pleasant Valley, and whereas the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry has made many valuable contributions to residents of the town of Pleasant Valley and other communities in Dutchess County through their hard work and dedication to believing that filling the shelves will help fight hunger and bring hope to the table. And whereas it is important to honor those volunteers who give their time, talent, and resources for the enhancement of their community. And whereas the town of Pleasant Valley wishes to extend our sincere appreciation to the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry and their volunteers for being examples of volunteers do not necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the town board and the town clerk for the town of Pleasant Valley do hereby thank the volunteers of the Pleasant Valley Food Pantry for striving to make a difference. Your passion and energy are unparalleled, and we respect your spirit of volunteerism. We are grateful for your help and thank you for being so selfless with our community and others, and for so many in whose lives you make a tangible difference. Dated June 16th, 2025, and it's listed on all the board members and Mary Beth Muir, the town clerk. We thank you.
Can we take a 2-minute recess to allow us to thank them and, thanks.
And it doesn't hurt our feelings if you leave. You can leave if you want.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Usually we jump right to the next thing.
Okay, we'll move on to the public comment. I'd like a motion to open the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, new business discussion. An emergency replacement of well pump, I'm
The
sorry.
public comment.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm going to move right on without everybody tonight. That's, yeah. This is what happens when there's an ex-supervisor in the audience who was like Speaker of the Year award. Okay, that's what. Would anybody like to speak? Oh,
You asked for that one.
Thing. I know. You shouldn't be nervous. This may very well be my last time speaking publicly to any of you as a Pleasant Valley resident. My house has been sold and I'm moving on. However, I can't tell you how wonderful I think everything has been coming in this town. Everything that has been, we all worked hard for in the past is now coming to fruition. So I'd like to thank this board first before I make comment about the pantry. I think all of you right now are doing a great job. Keep doing that work. You're doing good, keep doing good. Work together, argue on the sides, but in here you gotta stick together. Yes, I agree. I had the honor and privilege of working with the food pantry for many, many opportunities that I can get there. And I can't say enough about that wonderful organization and what they were doing. If there's ever a time, and there was a time, where it looked like there was no place for them to be, I employ this board to please find a place, if they need it in the future, to be part of this town as an entity that is a town entity. It's a volunteer entity, and we give them the award because they make a difference. But this is a bunch of people who really work very hard. You do know that, and you've acknowledged it. But there may be a time in the future they may need a home. And I can't tell you how many, you know how many people they help. Hopefully you can find a place somewhere in this town. We're going to have very shortly a brand new building. And I thank you guys for going forward with that. And you're going to have a building here, and there could be a room in the back that could be delivered in the back, and they can store in the back, and they can continue if need be. Just take that into consideration. And once again, I can't thank you all enough for the work that you're doing. You're doing a great job. I know each and every one of you personally, and I think you guys are a great board. Continue doing good things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Yeah, good luck with your sale. Yeah. And he walks out. And he walks out. What's that all about? Anyone else like to speak? No, not really. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm Gary from 19 Gretna Woods Road. I just wanted to speak on support of the ADU package you are putting together. I think it's really wonderful, has all the right permutations and combinations to let people maximize the space that they have. Thank you very much.
Okay, not seeing anyone else, I would like a motion to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And now I can go on to the new business discussion. Okay. 12A is emergency replacement of the well pump and casing from the ground up for the town hall. The pump is running pretty much nonstop. It clicks on and off all day. And I had a pump company come and look at it the other day, and it needs to be done like we're on a wing and a prayer right now with it. So they stated that they could do it on Thursday while we're closed. So I would like to try to go ahead and get that done. It's probably going to be around 5,000 total, not because of the pump, but because we need a huge piece of well casing, which has to be cast iron, right? Has to be cast iron, it has to be welded properly, it has to be put together properly with a new cap and everything, so that's I'm going probably on the higher side, but I wanted to be a little bit cautious about it. So with your permission, I would like to have them go ahead and do this on Thursday. Okay. 12B is accepting the resignation of Vanessa Blanc. I'd like a motion on the floor to accept the resignation of Vanessa Blanche, and do you want me to read this? Should I read it? Okay. I'm writing to formally resign my position as a recreation clerk at the Town of Pleasant Valley effective 6/19/25. This decision was not made likely, as I have greatly valued my time with the Town of Pleasant Valley. I want to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunities I've had to grow professionally and personally during my time here. I'm especially thankful for my department director Nikki Santos, whose positive leadership and support made working here genuinely enjoyable. Her enthusiasm and ability to create fun, memorable team environment had a meaningful impact on my experience. Thank you again for the support and encouragement you and the company have given me. I leave with warm memories and a deep appreciation for the experience.
So moved for accepting it.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
12C is a legislative aid and clerk vacancy and camp CIT counselors, which is going to be done in executive session. 12D is a proposed design for Helen Aldridge bathrooms. In your packet, you will see a printout of the building that we are proposing to be built at Helen Aldridge. It's all single units, two for families, and one of the families would be for the child, what is that called? No, it's like a baby changing table in one of them also. So they'll all be accessed individually from the outside, which we found out was going to be the better of the ways for us to have bathrooms there. The building is made by a company called CXT, and it is on a slab already, so the base only has to be stones. So it's rather easy to deal with. We put one pipe up for the septic, one pipe up for electric, and another one up for the water. And it all comes up into one area in the middle of the back of the building, and then once it's set in place, the building's set in place, the piping and the electric and everything goes to each bathroom, so that they have septic water and everything. This building will only be used during the warmer months, so probably like April into November before we have to close it up and drain it for the winter, as it will not have warm water. Every door will be self-locking at a specific time. You can get out, but at a specific time at night, it will lock up. It has very good LED lighting on the outside, and it will have an outdoor spigot for somebody to put a hose on, and it will also have not a drinking fountain, but a bottle fill on the side, so that all the kids can fill their bottles for whatever they're up there for. One of the sports, there's basketball up there, baseball, softball, tennis, so they would be able to utilize all of that. If you have other questions, I have the gentleman that I can call, and it's up to you.
No, I mean, I'm just excited to see this moving forward. Now that things have kind of changed a little bit with Helen Aldridge, was the original plan to put this on the far side of the baseball field
Yes.
originally?
Yeah.
Are we still planning on doing that
Yes.
if it's,
Yeah, because the water's already through the field.
gotcha, okay. And this dollar amount, does this include, like, is there more cost? Do we have to lay concrete
Yes, there's going to
and
be
stuff like that?
there's going to be costs for the septic, which is going to be done by our highway department. So that's probably going to be about $23,000 total for all the pieces attached to that. And then we'll need somebody to come in and do the base, which is the stone. And of course, it's very solid over there, so the gentleman didn't think we would have a problem at all. So that will have to be done. Now, they had originally spoken about having the well have a water line go to the outbuilding up there. So we'll have to decide that. I'll have to get some pricing on that and decide whether we want to do that or not.
And then this was well before my time on the board.
Yeah.
There was a budget and money, I think, set aside from a trust account.
Yes.
Is this?
$295,255.
Okay,
that's
and
left after
ev-
we've paid for all the approvals and the water line and the conduit going through for the electric through the baseball field and
so everything up to this point, we have 295,000 left in the budget that was
200,
approved?
right,
Okay,
yes, yes.
that's all, thank you. I
And
appreciate you
this is
bringing
the
this.
this is the building that we have a $100,000 grant for coming from the county.
There's one of these buildings actually, looks very similar over at a playground off of, it's in the town of Poughkeepsie. I forget the name of it. They do the, what is it? Maybe Green, it's right behind, kind of past Vassar College there, going towards the mall. And they have one of these buildings. It's really nice because you can go in with your kids and not have to, it's really good. I like the
Now,
setup.
this roof is gonna be different. This is more of a roof that is for like a stone kind of roof. And I'm gonna stick with we'll stick with the colors of Helen Aldridge, which is the beige with the green. All the roofs out there are green, the pavilion and the building over there. So we can just do this in the same color, so all the buildings will look uniform. I meant to tell you that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just had a question. I was missing if this was installed, but this is installed number, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Got it.
yes.
So, this is great. I'm glad this is on here. Thanks for putting it on, and thanks for running this to ground, Mary. When, do you have an idea of timing?
Well, the building is probably gonna take about 5 months to get. So, John Baxter told me that he would get going on this as soon as he can to, get the septic done.
Got it.
And they've done a few septics, so we're lucky to have them be able to do this. It's gonna save us quite a bit in labor.
Cool. Yo, I'm still not clear on where it is there.
Okay,
Is
so
it
if
on, is it
you-
on the community garden side?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes,
Like behind the backstop or somewhere over
yes.
there? Okay.
That's, it'll be over in that area.
And all that stuff that we heard about a long time ago about like the septic lines and all that, and that's all like sorted out? That was already
Oh,
what
yes,
was done, right?
yeah.
Okay. What was
Yeah.
the issue with that when it happened? It was in a wrong.
It was in the wrong spot because the community garden was over a bit.
Okay.
But Greg Bolner from CPL made it work.
Got it. Okay. Great.
And John is well aware of it. He's got the plan. He's looked it over and he knows what to expect. Well, as far as we know, he knows what to expect, right? There's always things that come up. Okay, so I have a resolution for that, don't I? Yeah, we do. Okay, thank you. Okay, in your packets, you should, did you put the Fuel for Life? Okay. In the packet, you'll see a food service operator agreement for Fuel for Life. Just so you know, Emily has gone back and forth on this, and it was approved. There were a few things that we changed on it. And so each camper will pay, if they want to do this, it's $90 per session, which is 2 weeks. So it's 10 lunches included in for $90. And they will pay the town, and then we will pay Fuel for Life. They bring the food in. As a matter of fact, LaGrange is doing this also. Do you have any questions about this?
This is who we wanted, right? This is who, yeah.
Yeah, I think from the beginning, yeah. Mm-hmm, yep.
Do we have a resolution for this, or do you need a motion
No, I really
approval?
probably don't. I just, if you want, I can do a motion on the floor for it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow you to enter and sign this contract between Fuel for Life and the town of Pleasant Valley.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The Saw Point Volunteer Firehouse, which is Pleasant Valley Fire District. Warren, our attorney Warren Raplansky is going to talk about this with you so that you can understand what we'll be putting up as far as a resolution for July 7th, right? July 7th for you? Yeah.
We presently have title to, oops, sorry.
We presently have title to the firehouse, which consists of 2 parcels. I created a draft resolution which needs to be amended, deeding, giving authority to the supervisor to sign a deed from the town of Pleasant Valley, because it's, the firehouse is in our name, but it was always intended that that would be turned over to the fire district. I had erroneously thought it was going to be deeded to the fire company. So the documents that I provided need to be amended, but it's my understanding you want to do it at the next meeting, so we'll change that. So at the next meeting, the town board will pass a resolution conveying those 2 properties and merging them into one property, which should have been done before, to the fire district, and that will be subject to a permissive referendum by pursuant to section 64(2) of the town law. So that'll be ready to go at the next meeting, if that's what you want.
So then we do the resolution at our next meeting, and then from that meeting, we have Mary Beth post it for 30 days?
That's correct.
Is it a full 30? Yeah.
No, you don't have to post it, you just post it once, the
Oh, one-
resolution.
Yeah, but,
And it's a 30-day waiting period.
so then at the beginning of August, at our next meeting, we should be able to do it? Or
Correct.
maybe not.
Yeah, we don't have to bring it back to the board, you would just be able to, the deed will be ready and the
okay,
transfer document,
okay.
be able to sign them.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? No? Okay, thank you, Warren.
You're welcome.
All right, old business discussion. New town hall update. Councilman Reifenberg.
Sorry. I have no pictures. It's kind of boring looking inside now because it's all closed up, so it's just an office building at this point. But the sheetrock is pretty much done on both floors. There's a couple pieces missing on the first floor. Taping has gone pretty much smoothly on the second floor. If you've noticed some site work on the outside, looking at the building on the right-hand side, there's a staircase that's going to end up being built with some landings coming down the right. The layout of the building, again, is the first floor is the meeting room and the court office. The second floor is the town hall offices that will be open during the day. So to come into the clerk's office or planning and zoning, you'll go up behind the building and park, and the entrance to that will be upstairs. The idea for the stairs is basically during the winter or bad weather, and there's court going on the first floor, we're not going to have entry on the second floor for security reasons, so people need to be able to get from the second upper level parking lot to the first level safely in snow and whatnot. So that's what's going in on the right. The front storefronts that you used to see there, if you've noticed, those have all been taken out and they've been blocked up, and they're getting prepared to accept the new windows and everything that are going in there. Somebody was on site last week measuring. All of this stuff is measured once they have it all set, so it's specific for that. Same thing inside. You have the elevator shaft, and then we have stairs that go up and wrap around to the second floor. The sheetrock and stuff is finally on the block there, so now the staircase company comes out and they measure the exact fit to custom build the stairs that go up to the second floor, so they fit exactly in there. So all of that stuff is happening. The front gabled roof, the entryway on the front, you'll see that's been constructed. It's not done, obviously, but that's there. And then on top of that, you'll see a clock tower that gets built that goes up higher. So it kind of looks a little off right now until that's built. So that's going on the front. The main power to the building has been turned off this week. So now we're running on temporary electric, which is paid for by a contractor. So the town is no longer paying for the electric until we finally switch over towards the end. With electricity, so the transfer switch that the town purchased with the generator is coming, I believe, next week, which is ahead of schedule. So they'll start putting the transfer switch in, and the generator, I think, is about a few weeks ahead of schedule and is scheduled for delivery towards the end of July. There's already been coordination between the electrical contractor, the construction manager, and the town. The generator's being planned to be delivered on a Saturday, and we're working with the electrical contractors and them to make sure they're able to be on location when they have to bring a crane in and everything else to lower this generator onto the pad. The generator pad's been poured and laid out. There's specific runs of electric that have to meet up perfectly where that's going to end up sitting, so they've been doing all of that. On the back side of the building, which you can't see from the Route 44, the concrete work to accept the pillars and stuff for the overhangs for the 2 entrances on the back, they've been poured in place because they're going to start doing the brickwork and laying out the 2 entrances. Some items we've been working on as a town, the meeting room, just little things like we have all of these microphones and we have the speakers. Well, if we're going into a new space, it would make sense to run cables through the actual ceiling and have ports instead of running these cables everywhere. So we've been working with our engineer to lay all of that out and work with the electrical engineer to actually lay in the boxes and everything that's supposed to be there so we don't have all of what you see now. There'll probably be a change order. I don't know if it's going to end up being just a credit and a swap off, but we had them install boxes up where the 2 TVs would go on the back wall. It'll have HDMI. The idea is that we'll be able to kind of do what we're doing now, but you'll have 2 of them. And it'll automatically tie into the equipment, which will now be stored in the back out of the actual main room. So we're working through all of that stuff, which has been kind of hectic. We're kind of pricing up for the town board a system that a lot of people complain that depending on how people talk into the microphones, it either comes across soft or too loud on YouTube or inside the room. They actually have technology now where it'll auto adjust. So if I start talking really low or I step back like this, it'll auto adjust to make it at a level. So we're looking into that just to see what the cost is of that, because I know that's a big complaint, especially with the YouTube feed. And then we're working on some security stuff. I'm not going to go into exact details, but obviously there's security cameras and systems in place that are required specifically for the courtroom. So simple things like where panic buttons are going to be and where a monitor makes sense in certain situations for people to operate and be able to utilize. We're kind of getting into that crazy stuff right now. It's pretty impressive inside. I will try to get maybe a walkthrough video like I did a couple months ago. Again, though, it's kind of not as exciting because it's just a bunch of hallways and rooms at this point. That's why I thought it was pretty important for you guys to see it before it was all closed up. But does anybody from the town board have any questions? That's all I got. Next, I'll bring some pictures next time to be more exciting.
Still on target?
Yeah, so I'm not going to, I mean, our target date with the contractors is January of 2026. I don't want anybody holding me to this, but in our minds, we have a goal to be doing punch list items and whatnot earlier than that. I'm not going to put the date out there.
Right, no, I just,
But yeah, we're well.
just to let people know.
I believe we will be ahead of target.
Correct.
And in my mind, we will be moved in out of this building before the end of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah.
So that's- just let
Okay, 13B is Local Law J of 2025 Accessory Dwelling Units, Print 3. Did you see this? Oh, okay. Oh, here it is.
You're tabling that, aren't you?
Well, we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to call now.
What, no?
No, we're gonna.
Is this just a discussion? Is that what we're doing?
Sorry, yes. Would anybody like to speak from the board on the ADU law? Or proposed law, excuse me?
Has the fire board seen this?
No, they are actually meeting on July 2nd specifically about this, I think, for the most part.
Okay.
And so they will, I asked them to do a report right away so that we could get it on the agenda for the 7th of July.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk quick, I guess. I was trying to take a break because I'm all stuffed up.
I
but
know, I can tell that.
I was at Medieval Times yesterday, and the dust and everything else is just killing me. So I just want to kind of go over just a broad overview, and I know this is not going to be passed or decided tonight, but I think it's important because there's been so many moving parts, and that I think it's very difficult, unless you are one of us, to follow the process from March 3rd to June 16th, because it's kind of been this progressing thing. And I just kind of want to hit on where this all started. So on March 3rd, I put together a presentation for the town board, and so everybody's on the same page. We already have an accessory dwelling unit code for the town. And basically, my time on the planning board, there was only one accessory dwelling permit that came in. And it stuck with me because it was a family who had 2 elderly parents that lived in Pleasant Valley that wanted a caretaker to live, and they wanted to convert the garage to a place that basically they could take care of their parents instead of sending them to a nursing home or not allowing them to live in their home. And I remember just at the time, it was during COVID, so things were crazy to begin with, but just the process, it was straightforward. It's laid out, but it requires you to go to the planning board, which isn't the worst thing, but if when you go to the planning board, you have to put up an escrow account, which costs money. There's a public hearing, I believe, that's involved, if I remember correctly. It opened it up. I remember there were neighbors that were concerned about like the septics, not the septics, the well, even though it was just 2 elderly people and 1 caretaker. And then I remember, and I might be completely wrong, but I remember the idea is that it was a temporary kind of thing where they could build this living facility for the caregiver, but then after that need was no longer needed, they had to get rid of what they built, because this was kind of just a temporary permit, and that had to be renewed every year. But if the need wasn't there anymore, they weren't allowed to rent it out or do anything with it. So I got thinking once I was on the board, and I've had residents talk to me about ADUs. I remember this was actually a question that was asked to all the town board members or the candidates for town board at the last debate, and the whatever it was to meet the candidates, and it didn't seem like many people knew what ADUs were, because these are kind of a newer hot topic. Even though it's in our comprehensive plan from 2009, it really hasn't been talked about much. So a lot of people didn't realize that we even have the law currently. So what I did is I put together this presentation, and the idea behind this was to revise the current law. It was not to replace the current law. And there were very strategic, specific things that were proposed that night, and I provided the board with this 1.5-page worksheet that pretty much highlighted the changes I was recommending, and the board at that time made the decision to send it to the attorney to kind of update the current law and make a proposal. I just want to show something really quick because I think it's important. I've heard a lot of people talking about, this is a new law and whatnot. It's funny, I went today and I read both laws, and it's surprising that majority of it is actually exactly word for word of what we have now. So this is the new law. Anything in pink is wording that's been changed. Anything that's not in pink is exactly word for word of our current law. So there's some changes on here because the intent has changed a little bit from the current law. This is actually the portion of the law that regulates how these things are being used. You can see most of it is white because it's all staying the same. We've made adjustments, 2 bedrooms, because we heard that in the public hearing, but that wasn't in the original thing. It was still 1 bedroom. This one's the 3-person because we originally only had it as 2 people, but the public wanted 3. So a lot of these are actually changed from the public hearing when we went through that process. And this is the last page. There's some changes there which actually make it more restrictive and actually require us to notify, like this one here is just notifying the fire department that there's an ADU, which wasn't in the regular law. and this is just telling you where they're allowed and where they're not allowed. So I just want to make sure everybody understands, we're not writing a new law. We're just tweaking a little bit of what's already existing. And we've been going through the process for a little over 3 months, and I think we all can agree that whatever goes on behind the scenes outside of this room to get comments or whatever it is needs addressing. I've seen the idea that like we didn't follow the process of what we were legally responsible of doing. We sent this immediately to the people that we were required to by law when we were supposed to. And those folks have 45 days to respond. And I don't know what happened. I still don't have the comments from the May 14th meeting. That's why we tabled it 2 weeks ago. But does anybody here have them? I'm just curious. Nobody has them? So we've never received the comments from the planning board meeting that they discussed this. But what we do have is they discussed it at Thursday night's meeting, and we got comments, which is great. But I just want to point out is that like there's something broken between the meeting and then getting the comments to here. It's not that we don't want to hear the comments, it's just we're not receiving the comments. So we really need to internally figure out where the issue is, because even when we received the comments from the public, from the planning board, we received 1 page, and there was only 5 comments attached to this.
That there was a problem.
Yeah,
It got saved from a Word to a PDF. Is that what?
Yeah.
And the
That's what
and
Christine told us.
the process between there knocked out the other pages. Do you
Right.
want these?
no, I have them now.
Oh,
we got these at like.
because it goes up
3
to
o'clock.
yeah, because it
But
goes
I-
up to 28.
I just
That-
want to
we
point
didn't
out.
realize
I
it.
just want to point out that I think a board member of the planning board saw this 1 page actually published in the public comment, public packet, and actually wrote a nice email saying, "Hey, I think something's left out," and I think an apology is actually due for that board member because I saw the responses from people that are paid by the town, and I think it was uncalled for because they weren't taken seriously until 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whenever we got this tonight. I think they had valid concerns. Obviously, this wasn't all the comments, and they were just pointing that out, and they kind of got criticized that they were spewing out false information. So I would hope whoever did that probably apologized because we're dealing with volunteers here. But with all that being said, we need to fix that process. It's not the planning board's fault. It's not our fault. There's some issue that's not happening.
So maybe with all this stuff, there should be like, we were saying, a checklist that zoning's checked off, town.
Correct.
The planning board has now checked off on it. You know, the fire inspector has now checked off on it, so we hit those 3 boards, and then it comes to us, and then that way we're not saying we missed a minute or we missed a page somewhere, then that way there's a true
Correct.
checklist that all the boards have approved it and like it, so when we say it's good, then all the other boards were on board with it.
I completely agree. And I think that's the moral of this is that this keeps happening, and I don't think it's one person's fault, but it gets aggravating when we keep kicking this 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, because now we're saying, okay, well, now the fire advisory board or fire safety board has to look at this. Well, this has been a known thing for a couple months now. And honestly, if we want the fire safety, I'm going to use the wrong word, but it was the fire advisory board when I started, and I don't know the exact specifics of what it is now, but we changed the law. In the law, it specifically says that they get applications from the planning board and any applications for the ZBA. It does not say in the law that they get referred laws that are being passed by the town board. It says they can look at the current laws on the books and give us recommendations if they want us to tweak them. So if we want it to be part of the process, and I think this is where we get into these gray areas, then we should probably revisit the law and specifically put in there that it needs to be sent to them just like the planning board. Because right now, there's no authority in the town code for us to send this to them. And now we're here delaying it again, waiting for them to look at it. So I'm 100% good with sending it to them. Again, we need to iron out the process. If that's what we want to do, it needs to be done in the beginning, because we're delaying this again for that.
I agree, so with that said, then, that probably wasn't, the STRs weren't sent to them either. then.
Correct, because it's not part of
So-
the,
And that was what started a lot of the stuff with STRs was the fire in Clinton.
so I know we're still going, I'm just getting this all done tonight, so we don't have to talk about this again. And I just want to make sure that when we're ready to vote on this, we're ready to vote on this. So I think we need to take time and make sure we're all good. So I just want to go through, again, I just received 3 more pages of comments from the planning board, so I apologize if I don't address all of your concerns because I didn't have all of them. But I wanted to respond to a couple of them because if you look at the current law, like I pointed out, and the proposed law, a lot of the stuff that I hear concerns about are exactly how it's set up right now. So the ADUs could be in front yards. That's a concern that I haven't just heard it from other boards, we've heard it in the public hearing portion from residents. So it's already addressed in the existing zoning regulations, the schedule of area and bulk requirements in 98-12. It governs setbacks for all structures, including ADUs, and effectively prohibits detached units in the front yard. The proposed ADU law actually continues to reference and enforce this requirement, specifically in section 9815C2, where it basically directs it back to that. There was concerns about the aquifers and well systems. I just want to make sure everybody understands that the wording in the proposed law doesn't change any of the wording in the current law. So whatever they passed in 2009 is worded exactly that it is in this law. We're not changing that. So to have discussions about the wells and all of that, we can do that, but I want to make it very clear that it's exactly the same as the ADU law currently it is today. Impact of septic systems, the same exact thing. There is zero change to the language that deals with septic systems from the current law that we have now. It's remaining exactly the same. So I understand, I have the same concerns, wells and septics, I agree. As far as I'm concerned, it's been addressed because we're leaving it exactly the way it is now. Now, if there's something that's changed in the last 15 years, I would love that suggestion of what we should change it to. But it's being addressed by the Dutchess County Department of Health. ADUs will be popping up all over the town. The law allows for only 1 ADU per lot and only on owner-occupied single-family properties. So if it's a multifamily property, you can't have an ADU. If it's if the owner doesn't live there, you can't have an ADU. So I've heard people talk about corporations coming in and building a bunch of ADUs everywhere. That's not going to happen because it's written in a way that the owner needs to live in either the primary house or the ADU itself. Now, there could be a whole separate conversation if the concern is with detached building of ADUs. I'm all ears for that. But the way it's written right now limits, and realistically, I know my house, for example, with the well requirements and the septic requirements, I have the land to build an ADU. I can finish my basement, which would be really easy. I don't meet the requirements to even get an ADU because my septic is only big enough for 4 bedrooms, and when you go up to the 5th bedroom, it goes into another classification of septic. So the idea that people are just going to be putting ADUs everywhere, it's actually probably a lot more restrictive than we think. Now, could I upgrade my septic? And well, sure, that could be an argument, but I doubt people are going to go through that. ADUs being rented out. So when I presented this to the town board, the thought process was this, is that we, as far as I know, at least in the last decade, I think we've only had 1 ADU permit is what I heard. I could be wrong. I could have heard the wrong information. And it's the one I was talking about. And I think part of the problem is there's a barrier to people going through the ADU process, either financially or you just can't do it because you can't meet the well or septics. But the renting out part is basically, I'll use my house if I could get one. My mother lives down in North Carolina, and she lives with my sister and her son and her husband. I could easily convert my basement to an ADU if it was allowed. If I create an ADU and she moves up here and she's aging and she either decides to move out or, God forbid, move on, I'm now set with this nice studio apartment that she's been living in, where she's been parking in my driveway. She's been living there. Maybe I wasn't charging rent, but there was an extra person or two in my house. Didn't change any of the characteristics of the neighborhood. I would be okay investing for my mother to live in the basement in a nice studio apartment if I knew that when it was time for her to not live there anymore, that I could potentially rent it for a couple years and have a professional, God bless you,
Thank you.
or a college kid or a new couple that's trying to get on their feet live there for the time between my mother living there and when my daughters become young adults. And then at that time, I still have this space that I didn't have to destroy and remove from my house. And now my daughters, when they go to college, they have their own independent area where they can live. So the whole idea from renting, this was never to, in my intention, to provide affordable rentals for people outside of the town or anything like that. That was never the intention. Could that potentially happen? Sure. The intent behind this was for aging parents, grandparents, to have a place that they can come back to and live with their kids instead of paying $30,000, $40,000 a month at a nursing home where they're not getting the care and they don't have you there. My wife's grandmother right now had a stroke a year ago, completely can't move, lives in her apartment. Shuffling around and doing all of that stuff, it would be so much easier if she could live, let's say, in my basement. Again, I'm not eligible for an ADU. That's where the intent of changing this was, is so people like that or your young adult kids trying to get on their feet, they could live in an accessory dwelling unit. So it was never to make a rental market out there. Parking issues are addressed. It's the exact same as the current law. And then there was this whole conversation. You'll see the original comments we got were like hardcore about the comprehensive plan and making, and I'll say the comprehensive plan, I could have a different opinion on reading something than somebody else. So I'm going to start with that, is that it's up to interpretation. But there are some factual things that can't be disputed in the comprehensive plan, and they're not up to interpretation. So the comprehensive plan was being used to fight a reason of being against this or why we should be against this. I just want to read a portion of the comprehensive plan. And again, it might not be applicable anymore because it's old, but then we shouldn't be using it as an argument to be against this. So housing availability. Local zoning strategies, private incentives, and government programs should promote the development of housing appropriate in size, location, accessibility, and cost for all types of households. Accessory apartments within existing structures or accessory buildings that meet standards of compatibility with the existing structure, which this law has, it's the exact same wording as the current law, and the surrounding neighborhood should be permitted in appropriate areas throughout the town. This type of development allows for affordable care, again, for elderly, disabled, or family members. Nowhere in here does it say you can't rent it. The intent was never to, it says for affordability for certain people, elderly, disabled, or family members. For some reason, when the law was passed, it made it very, very restrictive on who can actually have an accessory dwelling unit. The argument was also made that we didn't do a study, so how do we know that there's an affordability issue? I think everybody in this room could agree that we don't need to spend taxpayers' money to do a study that states that there's an affordability issue. I think we all believe in inflation and that the housing market is through the roof. The county actually responded. We have to send this to the county. The county, I'm going to read it, unless you disagree with the county, this was their words. We commend the town for their decision to address the way ADUs are currently regulated within the town code in an effort to simplify the permitting process. The proposed amendments will help in facilitating future ADU construction within the town, providing a greater variety of housing options for its residents. As we continue to face the effects of the housing affordability crisis, we believe this is an important and meaningful step in working to address these issues at the local level. That's not me. That's not my opinion. That's the county of Dutchess County, in their response, is acknowledging that we have an affordability issue. I'm saying all of this because I hope that my fellow board members will go, spend the time over the next 2 weeks. You just received this. I understand if you haven't read through it all. I haven't. Go through these and actually compare these comments to the current ADU law and the proposed ADU law. There are some things that if you want to pass an ADU law, you're never going to get it's totally not an ADU. If you want them built only in bedrooms, the town currently requires kitchens and bathrooms, so you can't just build them in current bedrooms. But take the time to read this and really digest what the county says, what the comprehensive plan actually says, because I think you'll start being enlightened that some of the information that we've been given doesn't actually align. And I think, and I'm open to it, if the conversation is that people are against building an external detached ADU and you want to make that go before the planning board, I'm 100% behind that if that's what the hang up is here. But if it's somebody wanting to finish their current basement or the area above their garage or their bonus room or a loft in the barn in a legal way that meets state code, fire code, and it meets all these regulations, I don't see the argument for making them jump through hoops, paying thousands of dollars in escrow accounts when it's inside of a building that's already built. So if the conversation, and you guys feel that we need to adjust and take out building an external ADU, I'm open to that, but we need to have that conversation. So I hope you guys will take the time to really dig through everything we received today, and we're prepared at the next meeting with the comments from the Fire Safety Board to move this forward and try to wrap this up. Because I think there's some good stuff here, but you really need to take the time to look at it all, because I don't know if it all matches up. So, and I appreciate the planning board stuff. I know it's been crazy. I know we don't receive half of this stuff. It's aggravating. I've been there. We're trying to fix it. We need to fix it. We owe it to everybody to fix it. So thank you for indulging me for way too long.
That's okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to say anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a couple items, just quick. So I think it's good to know the timeline, so I'm just going to read through this quick because if you don't attend every meeting, you can show up and then be a little bit surprised by how things are working. So, but if you've seen all of these on a track record, it's important to follow this. So some of this is going to be redundant, so I'm going to go fast. But in terms of when this started, because there is this theme that this was rushed, but we started this on March 3rd. So that's when it was made clear that this was a revised ADU as being added as a new business item. April 7th is when I presented the ADU grant application, and we voted unanimously to submit the letter to apply for that. Councilman Reifenberg also discussed the proposed ADU as part of old business. We drafted a law showing changes from the existing law, but making it clear that we were revising it, not creating a new law. And then in that meeting, which was April 7th, we set a public hearing and directed law to be circulated to the DC Planning and PV Planning Board. So that happened. So it was basically a month in between. So then the next month, May 5th, was the public hearing on ADU, held open to May 19th, which was to allow DC Planning and the Pleasant Valley Planning Board for comments. Again, Councilman Reifenberg discussed the ADU law as part of old business. And in that meeting, we requested 4 changes, and this is actually what he spoke about. So I just want to put a timestamp on the fact that we did this, we told what we were doing, we got changes, we got comments, and we immediately implemented it. So the limit of 2 bedrooms instead of 1 was done in this meeting. Verifying all setback requirements must be met. I don't know if you remember the meeting when it was said that you could put these in the front yard. You never could put them in the front yard. It was never part of the old law. You never could, but we addressed that. The fire department was notified, and we addressed it a conflict with cottage regulations. And then we requested comments from the planning board in that meeting. That was May 5th. May 7th is when we got the DC planning comments that Mike just talked about, Councilman Reifenberg talked about, commending the town on the law and suggesting some minor clarifications. May 9th, Councilman Reifenberg requested a new draft of the law reflecting the 4 items from May 5th meeting and DC planning comments. So those were those changes that immediately got put in. May 14th, Planning Board discusses revised ADU law. The comments were made orally, no vote taken. We've kind of beaten that horse dead. I will say, comments are important, getting the minutes are important. I think the process, if we can eliminate the gray area, I think one easy way to do that is when those meeting minutes get sent over, everyone gets CC'd. We've seen recently that happen, and I think it worked really well. I don't know if we were doing that prior, but the ones that we just received, everybody was on it. It's a good way to just avoid any gray area. That said, if you don't have minutes or meetings, you can watch a meeting and see the notes, and that's where actually some of the other changes came from, was we watched the meeting, saw what the planning board had said, and we implemented that. Revised law, which was print 2, was posted on the agenda on May 15th, reflecting town board and DC planning comments. May 19th, public hearing on revised ADU law continues. we discussed during old business. Planning board comments had not been provided yet. 2 additional changes were requested by the board, I believe, 3 people max instead of 2, and we wanted to clarify language about the principal building. At that point, we asked the town attorney to draft amendments to the law and adoption resolution allowing 10 days required prior to voting, because we wanted to allow the window. May 20th, town attorney sends the board and clerk a revised law, which was called Print 3. May 30th, revised law posted with the agenda. June 2nd was the last meeting, and that's when we decided to table it. And then on June 9th, the Fire and Safety Review Board states in their 6-4 meeting they would like to discuss the revised ADU law and submit comments. My point of this is we've had some time, so now we're getting comments. It's good, it's fine, but I think hopefully we get all the comments that we need before their meeting again, I think on July 2nd. So the meeting following that, we should have a decision and be ready to make a decision. I talked about the gray area. I think we're getting that solved with getting the whole board CC'd. I've heard some comments about how ADUs don't address affordable housing. That's a baffling comment to me, because a lot of the people you talk about, they're gonna give this room for free to their kid. Free is pretty affordable. I think that's pretty affordable, right? You could rent it out, but if you're giving it to your grandmother, you're not charging her, I don't know if you can get more affordable than that. So that's a weird argument that I don't understand. And in the document, I think you're all gonna see, there was a comment that was a bit odd to me. It was number 1 on the first version of the planning board meetings we got, and I'll just read it, because there's this theme, and in the May 14th meeting, it jumped out at me. When people were talking about water supply, and you do this, and you're gonna make wells run dry, that scared me a little bit. I didn't know if I had thought that through a little bit. I realized afterwards that the law does recognize that, and there are things in there in terms of the Dutchess County Board of Health and all that that's already covered, but it made me look into this a little bit more. So there was a concern about water, right? And you see that in some of these comments. But this comment's odd. It says, no studies have been done to determine the housing needs for Pleasant Valley. If there is a need for additional rental units in Pleasant Valley, the town board should reconsider the recent rejection and application for additional rental units to be built on Wigston Road. I don't really know what this is about, but it seems like it's a sizable unit. If you're worried about water, I don't think you should be suggesting a 400-unit rental development. That would really affect the water. 1 + 1 does not equal banana, and that does not add up to me. So I have a lot of questions about that, and that was the number 1 item on the list of comments that came from that first version of the planning board. So if water's a concern, that doesn't match. So that's all I had, and I appreciate the time.
Any other comments?
I just think we just need to make sure, like, the checklist, and then that way we don't have, like they said, the gray area where just, boom, you know, because everybody's, whether the minutes get here or not, like, Mr. Reifenberg said, the CC and everybody, and Dan stated, that's the same thing, just making sure that, we check that fire board, has gotten approval, town board or town planning has approved it, the, ZBA's approved it, and we stamp it and then be done with it so it doesn't go bounce around in a boxing ring.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, go on to 13C, Katie Basketball Court update from Councilman Deegan.
This will be quick. So I don't have any updates yet. We have the final plans. I have to get with MJ Engineering to understand what the cost implication. This is the old story of just moving the court. We're going to save money on asphalt. We're going to spend a little bit more money on some more labor, but we'll have that for the next meeting for an update. And the good news is the well work, which is critical. And just on the well, I don't know if anybody's had to replace their own well, but my house is like 25 years old. The first well I had lasted like 22 years. I've replaced 2 wells in like 5 years. They're not nearly as well made as they used to be. So if we have to replace that well again, we shouldn't be alarmed. They're not as, the well pumps, they're not, they don't make them like they used to. But it's good to get that out of the way. We can check that box, and then in 2 weeks we'll have a plan. I'm sure we'll be fine with the cost increase. It's going to be relevant, but I think it'll still be within under the budget that we had planned, and then get this thing rolling, because it's tired of seeing that machine just sitting there. But a couple weeks and we'll get back going.
Okay. 13D, Beautification Committee, Councilman Cookingham.
We've had a couple meetings there. Tonight you'll see that we're appointing a chair to the beautification, and then we're also looking into with the getting things approved there to try to re-update our, master plan here, so I just want to see what we have to do for that, with the board's approval, whether, you know, engineer-wise and that, since we keep saying 2009, 2010, our master plan, if we can get something updated. So,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm gonna, since I asked to add 6/05/2025 on the agenda, I'm gonna pull it from the agenda.
I don't have to do anything for that one. Thank you.
No.
Okay, we will go on to the resolutions. And did I have the right one? Oh, okay. All right, I would
Do
like.
you want to clarify what you just did? That may
Yes,
have moved
so-
a little fast for everybody
Yeah,
at
so
home.
if you're the sponsor of the resolution and you put it on the agenda, according to the rules that we all agree upon, you can remove it without any discussion with the board. I'm just pulling it for the mere fact that I don't want it to be voted on tonight.
So for any at home, that's the ADU law.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, I would like a motion for Resolution 609 of 2025, amending the 2025 General Budget Fund.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like a motion for Resolution 610 of 2025, authorizing payment of abstract number 6 of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'd like a motion for Resolution 611 of 2025, authorizing payment of abstract number 6P/2 of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like a motion for Resolution 612 of 2025, appointment of Beautification Committee Chair.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would like a motion for Resolution 613 of 2025, appointment of 2025 Town of Pleasant Valley Summer Camp No Teaming Staff.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we go back? We just voted to vote on the chair, but we didn't name the chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Megan Borland for the Beautification Committee Chairperson.
Got it.
Let's see, we did this one, right, 613? Okay. I am going to pull this. The next resolution is for the Pleasant Valley Fire District, and we will put that on the July 7th agenda.
When it gets put back up, can you just make sure all of this stuff is still included for the public, just so they have time to look at it?
Oh, okay.
Like all the
We can
specifics?
put all that on there. I just can put all this on there? Not all of it? Okay,
No, once it
No,
gets
but
changed,
once
if
it
we can
gets
have it
changed.
so it's ready for that
Once it gets
public
changed.
packet.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right, beautiful. Okay, and now I would like a motion to, well, you allow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a
sorry.
motion to allow Resolution 615, 2025 on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would like a motion for Resolution 615 of 2025, a resolution authorizing the ordering of the Dakota Flush precast concrete building for installation in the Helen Aldridge Park as bathrooms from Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This time, I would like a motion to open the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If anybody would like to speak? Not seeing any. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have a question about the,
I'm sorry, name and address, please?
Your name and address, dear.
Darlene Altman, and my father owns property in Pleasant Valley. So my question is about the ADU. If you build an apartment, an existing garage and you have an aide come in, and then you sell your house, what happens? You could rent it out and have other people go in there and live? Or what happens then?
So the way the law is currently written is, no, it's a permit specific for the owner of the house, and that permit gets pulled when you go to sell the house.
It gets pulled.
Correct.
And how do you stop people from actually renting it out without, you
Well,
know,
I mean,
they
it's,
can do that.
it's like anything else. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, people could do that right now. There's plenty of people doing that right now without an ADU permit, so, it's about enforcement and knowing that's happening, but if you're selling the house, I mean, they have to come to the, usually, I believe somebody comes to the town and gets a title search and all of that information for COs and building permits and all that stuff, so my guess would be it would come up during that. I would make
Title
the,
search, you don't go in the house to look at the house.
yeah, I'd make the equivalent of somebody finishing their basement without coming to the town. Typically, that gets found when you go to sell the house and you're in a lot of trouble, and then you're trying to figure that out to legally sell the house. So I'd imagine in that process, somewhere, that's when that would be caught. Just my guess. I'm not a person that does that, but I know when we went and looked at a house, they didn't finish the basement correctly, and we didn't end up buying the house. But
Right, okay,
That's only though if they didn't have a CO for it,
right,
yeah. So it's kind of, you're kind of on the honor system,
yeah,
so.
okay.
Mary Meyer, 28 Clark Heights. I was very conflicted at first, and I've gone back and forth on the ADU law. But I'd watched the planning board meeting twice, again today, taking very, very good notes. Now I see the notes from the planning board. But as I read the comprehensive plan, and I've been reading it more lately, and I'm going to quote it here. Too often the zoning code and subdivision regulations take the place of a town's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan forms the basis and reasoning for regulations. It is not enough to know what is not allowed, but one must understand the reasoning behind the laws. And that comes directly from the comprehensive plan, and it resonated with me. There's also a sentence in there that talks about it is expected that decision makers within the town be knowledgeable in every aspect of the plan's policies. More than that, though, it should be required reading material for anyone looking to develop in Pleasant Valley. I've read the comprehensive plan over and over again, even during the ADU. So I'm very much in favor of it. I wasn't at first. I'd gone back and forth deciding whether I was or not. But I think our comprehensive plan is very much in favor of this ADU. It even has the implementation strategies in the housing section, of which 4.3 says adopting zoning regulations that allow accessory apartments in all appropriate areas of the town. So I would suggest everybody should read the comprehensive plan, and this ADU law is very much in line with the Pleasant Valley Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing anyone else, I'd like a motion to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second, Michael.
All in favor?
Aye.
And-
Can we hold
Sure.
off for 1 second?
Sure.
So Warren was just bringing up the question about the current law, and I might be reading it wrong, but in the current law in 9815B 13, it says the special use permit for the accessory dwelling shall terminate if title to the property is transferred by sale, foreclosure, or the owner's death, or if the owner is no longer utilizing one of the residences on the property at his or her primary residence. No, I'm saying the current law, that's how it is. Yeah. Yeah. Correct, because we're taking a different stance in the new law, yeah. Sorry.
at this time, I would like a motion to go into executive session for 105.F personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I thank everybody for coming. I'd like a resolution, no, excuse me. I would like to come out of executive session at 9:35.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
And a previous resolution, 606 of 2025, dated June 2nd, 2025, affirming but clarifying the resolution for hiring of Lucas Witten and Giovanni Maestri will take effect upon receipt of the working papers and upon the individuals reaching the minimum age requirements.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:36.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.